From the moment you opened your eyes this morning, reality rushed in through sight, sound, and touch. But here's the unsettling truth. Those senses show you less than 1% of what actually exists. The red of a rose, the blue of the sky, those colors aren't out there. They are narrow translations created by your brain, taken from an electromagnetic spectrum so vast that almost all of it passes by unseen. Dogs hear frequencies you will never register. Bees navigate with ultraviolet patterns painted on flowers, invisible to you but as real as daylight. Even the air vibrates with layers of sound beyond your ears. Whales conversing across oceans, bats weaving maps through sonar. What you call the world is not the world itself, but a filtered sliver designed for survival, not for truth. This raises the question no one escapes. If every color, every sound, every texture is just a symbol our mind generates, what lies beyond these symbols? For centuries, we've trusted the senses as our only window to reality. But what if the window hides more than it reveals? What if the very clarity of perception is the veil that prevents us from seeing what is real? That is the mystery we're stepping into in this video. Science tells us the brain fills in blind spots, invents continuity when sounds are masked, edits out what it deems irrelevant. Philosophy warns us that we encounter not things in themselves, but appearances shaped by our own mind. And the mystics whisper that what perceives all this, the silent awareness behind every sight and sound, is not a translation at all. It is the ground in which translations happen. This journey won't hand you final answers. This channel doesn't exist to tell you what to believe, but to open space for questions that your own awareness must meet. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. Your intuition is the compass here. And if you feel called to keep walking with us into the unknown, consider subscribing. This circle of seekers is still small, but it grows each time someone recognizes that reality is stranger and more intimate than the senses reveal. From the moment you wake, your senses convince you that reality is solid, stable, and complete. Light pours through the eyes, sound vibrates through the ears, textures press against the skin. Yet each of these is nothing more than a thin slice of a much larger spectrum. Human eyes, for example, are blind to almost everything. Bees navigate flowers by patterns in ultraviolet. Snakes trace heat in the infrared glow of their prey. Migratory birds follow magnetic fields as if they were painted arrows in the sky. To us, these dimensions are invisible, and yet they are as real as the red of an apple or the blue of the sea. Our world feels whole, but is missing far more than it shows. Hearing is no different. The average human range spans from about 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz, a tiny island in an ocean of vibration. Dogs hear the high-pitched frequencies that make our silence deafening. Whales call across miles with notes too low for our ears to register. Bats perceive an entirely different world by bouncing sound off the air, where we stumble in darkness. What we call silence to them is filled with signals. Even touch, the most intimate of senses, edits reality. Nerves fire only when stimulated beyond certain thresholds. A constant ring pressed against the finger quickly disappears from awareness. Subtle vibrations, electrical fields, the dance of atoms, most never rise into consciousness. Smell and taste, too, are only crude samplers of the chemical ocean that surrounds us. A shark can detect a drop of blood in the span of an Olympic pool. Dogs live inside a kaleidoscope of scent trails that to us are utterly invisible. And yet the story runs deeper. Neuroscience reveals that even the fragments we do receive are not taken at face value. Vision skips over the blind spot in each eye by fabricating what should be there. Colors are adjusted by context, shadows, and expectation. Sounds masked by louder noise are filled in as if they had never been missing. The brain operates less like a mirror and more like an artist, predicting, editing, and stitching together a world that feels seamless. What you call reality is not a window, but a construction. Your senses deliver symbols, trimmed and reassembled for survival. The shock is not only how much is missing, but how much of what remains is invented. If this is only a sliver, crafted to deceive you with its coherence, then what waits outside the picture you have never seen? The mind insists that what you see is the world itself. The apple is red, the sky is blue, the table feels solid beneath your hand. But none of this exists out there in the way it appears. Color is not a property of objects, it is a translation. Photons have no redness or blueness. They are packets of energy, vibrating at different frequencies. The brain takes that vibration, maps it into a code, and produces the sensation we call color. The apple's redness is an icon, a symbol generated for you. Outside perception, it has no such quality. The same holds for sound. Air molecules collide, forming waves of pressure. They don't hum or sing, they simply move. Your ear converts these vibrations into electrical signals, and the brain conjures the experience of a melody, a voice, a whisper. What you hear is not the movement of air, but an interpretation, an icon shaped for your survival. Even the feeling of solidity under your hand is a deception. At the atomic level, there is no firmness, no surface. There are fields and particles, mostly empty space, charged forces resisting one another. The texture you feel is a translation, not the thing itself. This is the radical point. The senses do not open a window to reality. They construct a user interface. Just as the icons on your phone are not tiny versions of files and circuits, but simplified symbols hiding the complexity beneath, so every color, sound, and texture is a functional shortcut. The icons are not meant to show you truth, they are meant to help you survive. Philosophers have glimpsed this for centuries. Plato described humans as prisoners watching shadows on a wall, mistaking them for the real. Kant drew the line between the phenomena we perceive and the noumena, the thing in itself that forever escapes our categories. In modern times, thinkers like Donald Hoffman argue that evolution has shaped perception not for accuracy, but for fitness. The more convincing the picture, the better it hides what lies beyond. The unsettling twist is this: the more real the world feels, the less it shows you of what it truly is. Your desk, your voice, your reflection in the mirror, all of them icons. They are symbols, not reality. And yet, they feel so immediate, so undeniable, that we cannot help but cling to them. But if everything you know is a translation, if every sensation is an icon, then what is it that is being translated? What lies behind the interface? The question hangs like a doorway, waiting to be stepped through. Every sight, sound, or sensation is a message arriving through the interface. But notice something strange: all of it comes and goes while something never moves. Close your eyes and vision dissolves, sit in silence and sound disappears. Yet awareness remains, quietly present, receiving whatever arises. Awareness is not owned by the eyes or the ears. It is the stage on which they appear. When you look at a tree, what you truly encounter is not bark and leaves in themselves, but the image, the texture, the color arising within consciousness. When you listen to music, the notes are not floating outside, they are experiences blooming inside awareness. Even your thoughts, the words you whisper to yourself, pass like clouds across the same open sky. Neuroscience hints at this with the concept of the observing self, the part of us that notices without being the thing noticed. In psychology, it's described as the capacity to witness thoughts and feelings without being consumed by them. In spirituality, it has been given countless names: the Atman, the witness, the pure consciousness. In Buddhism, it is sometimes called emptiness, not because it is nothing, but because it is not bound by any particular form. What makes this awareness so elusive is that it cannot be turned into an object. You cannot step outside it to perceive it. Try to see awareness and you will only see another perception. Try to think about it and you will only produce another thought appearing within it. And yet, it is the constant background of every experience you have ever known. Consider how different perceptions rise and fall. The taste of a meal gone in minutes, the sound of a song fading into silence. Even your body itself shifts. Cells dying, new ones born, sensations changing with every moment. But what you call "I am aware" remains untouched. You were aware when you were a child, though your body has transformed completely. You were aware yesterday, and you are aware now. The content of awareness shifts endlessly, but the field itself is steady. Traditions like Advaita Vedanta speak of this as the realization that the self is not the body or the mind, but the witness of both. Buddhism points to the same truth when it teaches that all forms are impermanent, yet the capacity to know them never wavers. Mystical Christianity, too, whispers of an inner light that cannot be extinguished by time or change. Across cultures, the teaching echoes, what you truly are is not the icons you perceive, but the awareness that perceives them. Awareness is not distant or abstract. It is immediate. It is what is noticing these words right now. Because it has no color, no shape, no sound, it is often overlooked. We spend our lives chasing what arises in awareness while ignoring the awareness itself. There is a quiet intimacy in recognizing this. Perceptions come and go like visitors, but awareness is the home they enter. When you rest in that recognition, something shifts. Fear softens, not because the world changes, but because you realize you are not confined to what changes. You are the space in which change occurs. And if awareness is untouched by the rise and fall of sensations, then perhaps it is not an icon at all. Perhaps it is the one reality you do not merely translate, but the ground that has been here all along. If awareness is the one constant that never becomes an object, then the question deepens. What is reality itself? The senses give us only icons. The mind arranges those icons into a convincing picture. But behind them, we cannot step outside to see what they are translating. Reality itself hides in plain sight, forever beyond the reach of perception. Even science, with its instruments and equations, finds the ground shifting. Quantum physics reveals particles that exist only as probabilities until they are measured, as though reality waits for an observer to make a choice. Entangled particles mirror each other across vast distances, hinting that what appears separate may be connected at a level we cannot perceive. Relativity tells us that time itself bends and stretches depending on where you stand. None of this aligns with the steady world our senses insist is real. The solidity of objects, the flow of time, the separateness of things, all of it begins to unravel. Mystical traditions echo the same uncertainty. Vedanta speaks of the world as Maya, appearance without ultimate substance. Buddhism describes phenomena as empty of inherent existence. Christian mystics point to the divine as beyond all names and forms, found not by grasping but by letting go. Across traditions and sciences alike, the message resonates. What you see is not what is, but the paradox grows even sharper. If awareness is the ground of experience, can it itself be called reality? Or is it only the field in which reality shows itself? We cannot step outside to confirm. Awareness cannot be placed under a microscope, and it cannot be captured as an object. It is the ever-present background, but whether it is the ultimate truth or merely a doorway remains unanswered. Perhaps that is the point. The icons of perception are not failures, but invitations. They guide us through a simplified world, just enough to survive while leaving traces of something vaster. Every blind spot, every filled-in illusion, every hidden frequency is a reminder that the picture is incomplete. Awareness itself becomes the one mystery we cannot escape, because it is what we are. And so the question lingers, if the world you know is a translation, what is untranslated reality? And if your awareness, untouched by sight or sound, then who or what are you beyond perception? Awareness is not something you chase. It is the one companion that has never left you, the quiet presence that was here before your first memory and will remain after your last breath. Everything else has shifted. The faces around you, the places you've called home, even the person you believed yourself to be. But this silent witness has been steady, waiting for you to notice. The world you move through is full of signs pointing back to it. The way silence holds a song after it ends. The way stillness underlies every movement. The way a moment of genuine attention makes even the most ordinary detail glow with meaning. These are not accidents, they are reminders. To recognize awareness is not to escape life, but to meet it more fully. Pain still comes, joy still rises, change still unfolds, but now you meet them as waves on an ocean you no longer mistake for the whole. In that recognition, something softens. Choices become clearer. The frantic search for certainty loses its grip, and what remains is a trust in the mystery itself. Perhaps that is the greatest gift hidden behind the limits of perception, not answers, but intimacy. Not a final picture of reality, but the courage to live as though every moment is already sacred. If something opened in you while listening, tell me in the comments what it revealed. I'd love to hear how this touched your journey. And if you want to keep exploring together, subscribe. There are deeper mysteries waiting. Thanks for watching.